So, when you hear the name Pythagoras, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For pretty much everyone, it's that equation from school, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. But what if I told you the man behind that famous theorem was, well, less of a math teacher and more of a mystic, a kind of cult leader who believed the entire universe was one big symphony, all written in the language of numbers? In this explainer, we're going to go way beyond the triangle to find the real Pythagoras.
Yep, we all know this one. It's elegant, it's powerful, and let's be honest, it's probably the only thing we know about the guy. But that simple equation, it's really just the front door to a much, much stranger and way more fascinating story.
So who was the man who could look at a triangle and see the entire universe? We're about to meet a philosopher who thought numbers weren't just for building stuff. No, he believed they were the key to purifying your soul. And that famous theorem, for him, that was the ultimate proof.
See, for Pythagoras, math wasn't just some boring subject you study in a classroom. It was a spiritual path. He wasn't just a teacher. He was the head of a secretive brotherhood, a whole community that blended really strict logic with deep, deep mysticism in a way the ancient world had just never seen before.
That's true. Separating the real man from all the legends is tough. Most of what was written about him came centuries after he died. But here's what we know for sure. His ideas started a revolution in philosophy, in science, and even in religion that, honestly, we can still feel today.
To really get a handle on his radical ideas, you have to follow his journey. Pythagoras wasn't a product of just one place. He was a seeker. He went on this decades-long quest to learn from basically every source of knowledge in the entire ancient world.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's incredible. After learning from the early Greek masters, he didn't just take a little trip, he completely immersed himself. Can you imagine? 22 years in Egypt, learning all the mystical mathematics from the temple priests. Then he gets captured and taken to Babylon, where he spends another 12 years studying with the Magi. This was the original grand tour of ancient wisdom.
Just think about that for a second. Over 30 years, just learning. Mastering the world's most advanced knowledge before he even thought he was ready to teach anyone else. This wasn't just a trip abroad. This was him forging a whole new worldview that would mix Greek logic, Egyptian mystery, and Babylonian astronomy into something brand new. So finally, after more than 3 decades away, a middle-aged Pythagoras shows up in southern Italy. And this is where his journey as a student finally ends, and his real work as a world builder begins. He was about to create one of the most influential and unusual communities in all of history.
He gets to this Greek colony called Croton, and his arrival is, well, electric. The legend says that after just his very first speech, 2,000 people were so captivated that they dropped everything to follow him. They created a community so powerful it basically took over the region.
But this wasn't your average school. No way. It was a society with a really strict inner and outer circle. The inner circle, the true Pythagoreans, were the initiates. They lived together, they shared all their stuff, and they got to learn his deepest secrets. Then you had the outer circle, the Pythagorists. They were followers who lived in town but were still totally dedicated to his teachings.
And life inside this community was governed by some very strict rules. Absolute secrecy was non-negotiable. All property was shared. They had specific practices, including being vegetarians, and it was all designed around one central goal: purifying the soul through self-discipline and study. It was a whole way of life.
And here's where you see just how radical Pythagoras really was. In an age that pretty much completely shut women out of intellectual life, his school welcomed them as equals. His own wife, Theano, and their daughters weren't just members. They became famous philosophers in their own right. Proving his vision of wisdom went way beyond gender.
So, what was this big secret knowledge they were teaching inside the Brotherhood? Well, it was a worldview built on a single, powerful idea. An idea that would change Western thought forever.
All things are number. That was it. That was his huge revelation. While everyone else saw a world run by the whims of chaotic gods, Pythagoras saw a hidden, rational order underneath it all. And the language of that order? Math. For him, everything, from the stars in the sky to human morality, was all governed by the beautiful, perfect logic of numbers.
And he didn't just say this, he set out to prove it. And he started with music. Using a simple, single-stringed instrument, he found something absolutely mind-blowing. Musical harmony is literally mathematics.
The sounds we find most beautiful, the octave, the fifth, the fourth, they all correspond to perfect, simple ratios of whole numbers. This was the first time anyone had ever shown that something abstract like beauty was actually governed by a secret numerical code.
So if music was ruled by numbers, why not the whole universe? He took this idea and aimed it at the heavens. He proposed that the planets, as they move through space, also follow these perfect mathematical ratios, creating a kind of celestial symphony, a harmony of the spheres. This was a total game changer. It meant the universe wasn't just chaos, it was a rational, predictable system, a cosmos.
And that brings us right back to where we started, the theorem. For Pythagoras, a squared plus b squared equals c squared wasn't just some handy formula for carpenters. It was the ultimate proof of his entire philosophy. It showed that even empty space follows perfect, predictable, numerical laws. The universe wasn't random, it was rational, and we could understand it. But this incredible community, built on a vision of cosmic order, wasn't destined to last forever. Its end was just as dramatic as its beginning, but its ideas, well, those ideas would echo through history.
You see, the Brotherhood's influence in Croton made a lot of people jealous and angry. This all came to a head because of a guy named Cylon, a rich nobleman who was rejected from joining the inner circle. He took it personally, stirred up a bunch of public anger, and led a mob that attacked and burned the school to the ground, killing many of the members and forcing Pythagoras to flee into exile, where he eventually died.
Even though the school was destroyed, the ideas survived, protected by a sacred oath. They swore by the tetractys, this perfect triangle made of 10 dots. To them, this symbol wasn't just a number. It was a map of creation itself. It represented the divine numerical structure of the entire cosmos. It was their promise to never lose faith in a universe that was built on harmony.
So what's his legacy? Honestly, it's almost impossible to measure. The idea that the universe is written in the language of math, that's the entire foundation of modern physics. The idea that seeking knowledge can actually purify your soul, that directly shaped Plato and basically all of Western philosophy. He was the one who pioneered the idea that philosophy isn't just something you think, it's something you do. It's a way you live. Even ideas like reincarnation and ethical vegetarianism have deep roots in his teachings.
Which leaves us with this thought. We usually think of math as this cold, hard, analytical tool. But Pythagoras saw it as a spiritual journey, a key that could unlock both the secrets of the cosmos and our own potential. He reminds us that behind all the numbers, there might just be harmony and beauty, and maybe even a deeper meaning. So, if math really is the code of the universe, what secrets is it waiting to reveal to you?